Yes. All right. Great. Okay, it's Tuesday, July 23rd, 6:02 p.m. This is the Norwalk Conservation Commission and Inland Wetland Agency meeting. Could we have a roll call, please?
Bucky,
Here.
Cheryl Brown,
Here.
Catherine Knight,
Here.
and Heather Breslin.
Here.
Excellent. So
Thank
that's
you.
4. You have a quorum.
Okay. Do we have anyone online who would like to speak from the public?
And so if you are a member of the public attending the meeting, we do have public comments. Those public comments have to be limited to topics that are broad and can't be specifically about a pending application. For pending applications, we have the public hearing process, which is a land use review time that is clearly for public comment. So after that comment from myself, if anyone in the public would like to make a general comment, use the raise your hand feature to, and then we'll allow you to speak. But I think he's just listening. So
Okay, we have one
we'll say
listener.
no. Yes.
Okay. Moving forward then to receipt and or discussion, we have nothing to receive tonight. Is that true?
That is true. You'll have a new application, at least one for your next meeting, but none for this.
Wonderful. Okay, then moving on to discussion and or decision. S24-640 to Lloyd Road.
Let's see. Amelia is here. And here she is. So maybe just give like a really quick overview of anything that's changed since the commission last met, as far as new materials, and then I know that the applicant's team is here.
Sure. So we received Mr. Fain's report, which was posted on the website, and I believe he will be presenting it today. Otherwise, it's the same materials that you had received at your previous meeting. And I think the goal of tonight is to either decide if you'd like to schedule the public hearing with the current proposal, or if you would be interested in any alternative proposals the applicant has for corrective action. So Jay, if you'd like to walk us through the new materials in your report.
Yeah, I prepared a wetland biological narrative and impact assessment for this property. If we recall, we're talking about the property on the corner of Lloyd Drive, on the corner of New Canaan Avenue and Lloyd Drive, and across the street is Birdside Drive. This is in response to a cease and correct action. The owner had piped approximately 100 foot of intermittent water course. Per my report, we believe that the original water course was not located in the same vicinity or same location that it is currently now. We believe that, prior to the construction of Lloyd Drive, the intermittent water course probably much closely followed Lloyd Drive. And it's interesting, there is another perennial water course that traverses from north to south that has been piped, that was historically piped, and those two probably joined up. But over the years, with the development of all of these properties, and development of New Canaan Avenue, and development of Lloyd Drive and Birdside Drive, all the hydrology and all the original water course paths were altered. At the current time, the water source for the intermittent water course in Lloyd Drive is a combination of runoff from New Canaan Avenue and Birdside Drive, and a source of pipes that go under Birdside Drive through a couple of catch basins, and then there's a cross culvert that goes under Birdside Drive that takes some of that water, and another cross culvert under 123 that dumps onto the property. The base flow of this water course is very low, definitely less than 1 cubic foot per second, and probably much less than that. Typically, it's dry. But what happens here is a fairly large and developed watershed. So during a significant rain event, there's a significant amount of water that comes down and contributes to the runoff onto the property. And what's been happening is because of that amount of runoff and the proximity of the old intermittent water course to the residents gets flooded every time there's any significant rainfall. So our proposal is to leave the existing pipe as it is, because we feel it's providing the function that was originally provided in terms of conveying the water across the property. And in exchange for that, are you seeing my screen at all?
No.
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna try to screen one, share. Is that working at all?
It is, we kind of see both of your screens. So
Okay, that's not good.
the map is kind of small.
See if I can correct that. I think I made it worse. They lost all my apologies, I'm terrible about this technical stuff. Anyways, I think,
You might be able to, if you stop sharing and then share, but only share the PDF instead of your whole screen, it might work better.
that's what I'm trying to do. It's not working out real well.
I think you have to stop sharing and then share again. Maybe.
Excuse me?
I think you have to stop sharing and then try sharing again.
Okay.
Um,
Stop share. Not working?
No, I don't think you've stopped sharing yet. So, oh, there you
Okay,
go.
Here we go. Share screen one. Share. Same thing?
Same thing.
All right, so my apologies. Anyways, we prepared a mitigation plan that would we provide a buffer for the remaining water course along 123, about 1,000 square feet, and that would have native trees, red maple and chablis, native shrubs, summer sweet spires, spice bush, and lacove, and native forbs and grasses, including swamp rose mallow, cinnamon fern, Shenandoah sweetgrass, and Christmas fern. And we feel that this would be provide a good water course buffer area and a good habitat area in an area that where none exists on the property. So that's the proposal in a nutshell. Brian Muller is here. He's the project engineer. He's done the engineering. You'd like to hear from him in terms of the capacity of the pipe, and also I believe Alexis and I wanted him to comment on the connection to the existing pipe.
Yeah, Brian Muller here, licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. I'm the principal owner of Muller Engineering LLC. We looked at this pipe in depth actually after it was put in there, and the owner actually consulted with me about it prior to putting it in to just make sure it was sized appropriately. There was an old existing steel pipe in there as like a part. It was probably like 15 feet long. It seems like it was there since the building of the house originally, and it was used primarily probably for a tractor or a lawnmower to get over this intermittent water course to the other side of the property, where there's also a CNG gas easement running through there with a high pressure main, where they used to mow the lawn over there. And that old pipe was a 15-inch pipe. The new HDPE pipe that was installed is an 18-inch pipe, so it holds a lot more capacity. It's also at more of a slope than the old pipe was, because the old pipe was set flat. This pipe runs from the upper side of the property down to the lower side. And it's really just the exact same concept of what was there for the past 50 years with this cast iron pipe. It's just this pipe's a longer segment now. There's no connection on the uphill side to any type of catch basin or anything. It just is the intermittent water course draining into this pipe. with a controlled entry, so there's no scouring around the entrance, because that was a big problem with this intermittent water course is there were so many jigs and jogs through it that it would scour and it would create issues in the yard. And also downstream, then I can't imagine the sedimentation that was deposited downstream, because once you get past this 2 Lloyd property and go downstream, every neighbor downstream has a pipe that pipes this intermittent water course under their properties, as well as the road of 2 Lloyd at certain points have catch basins that then tie in pipes with easements through these said properties down into that one large pipe that continues through the backs of all the neighbors there. And this pipe that this owner put in, it doesn't connect to that pipe. It basically ends at the edge of the property line, and it's open there. There's a weird little shed on the neighbor's property with like a deck. And underneath that little deck is actually the intermittent water course is actually open underneath there still, because that wasn't on this owner's property. It was on the neighbor's property. And he, obviously he's friends with them. They talked, they have no problem with it. So over the past few months as well, we've witnessed some heavy rainstorms too, not just long duration storms, but the main concern is the short duration, high intensity storms where we get 3 or 4 inches in an hour to 4 hours. Those storms passed this pipe without a problem. It barely flowed half full. And as we speak right now, even though we had rain the other day, I went and looked at that pipe early this morning, and that brook wasn't even flowing as of this morning. So it literally just flows after a rainstorm, and then it flows a little bit in the spring because it's more wet during the spring months with the higher groundwater table. I'm planning on also speaking with the town engineer. We're setting up a meeting to talk about the connection, just so he's aware of that there isn't an actual connection from pipe to pipe with the actual easements that are on the neighboring property. We just conveyed our water through this property and discharged it in a controlled manner. Basically the same way the brook did before. It's just now, instead of heavy rainstorms watching sediment and doing scouring along this brook, now the water's flowing through the property, is being conveyed in a controlled manner. So that's why I feel it's important to keep some type of structure here, conveying this water through the property. It only benefits the town, the neighbors. It really benefits everybody from a sedimentation deposit standpoint, and an erosion control standpoint. If there's any questions or anything I missed on, I'd be happy to answer them.
Could you just go over again the connection? So what is the total length of pipe that was installed recently on the property, first of all?
I don't have that number offhand, but I would say it's probably 80 feet, maybe.
I
Maybe
measured
70 or
100
80
feet on the survey.
It's 100 feet on the survey?
Yeah, that's what I measured. Right? We could feel measure, but I measured 100 feet on the survey.
Okay, so it's
Okay,
100
yeah,
feet of pipe now compared to the 15.
Yes,
And
now there's
then-
100 feet of pipe, yes.
Okay. And so then and can you explain again where the pipe ends and how it ends?
So the way the pipe ends is it just ends at the edge of the property, like just before the edge of the property, because there was a bunch of trees there that had root balls like growing into the edge of the bank that the owner didn't want to disturb. He wanted to leave all the trees because he wanted the screening. So he just stuck the pipe right at the edge of that area and then just backfilled over it so that he didn't disturb the roots of the trees. So the end of the pipe is actually open right after the edge of the property. The reason why it's hard to see that visually if you walk to the property is because at the edge of the property, the neighbor, if you're standing looking at the property from the road of Lloyd, the neighbor to the right, he has a little shed right on the property line with a deck on that shed that the pipe then leads underneath. So the neighbor's got a shed over this area it's covered up.
Okay, but does and so is that open area that you're describing on the subject property, or is it on the adjacent property?
It's on the adjacent property. There might be
So-
a few inches on our property, but it would be minimal.
Brian, what you're saying doesn't jive with what I'm seeing on Jay's drawing. So I'm seeing on Jay's drawing a pipe that stops way out here. This says boulders, and then there's a tree line, and then there's the property line, and there's a shed. So what is correct?
Well, the survey would be correct. So maybe my visual memory of it is incorrect.
Okay,
Because I don't
can I
have the
ask you another
survey in front of
question?
me.
So if
Yeah.
you were taking a meandering brook and
Yeah.
then you channelize it and increase the pitch of it, that doesn't affect the speed or volume?
No,
of
we didn't
the
increase,
move across the site?
we didn't increase the pitch. We maintained the overall slope of that intermittent water course. It's not a brook. It doesn't flow when it's not raining.
Well, either way.
We maintain the existing slope of that brook with the pipe,
Okay,
and that's what we use. We basically use the bottom of that channel to sit the pipe in, and we use that to maintain that slope. So there was no like excavation to make it deeper or anything like that. We just sat the pipe into the channel.
right. And now, and Jay, I gotta ask, on this biological narrative and impact assessment report, and I may just be confused, but you got here on page 4, the 2 Lloyd Road site contains no wetlands, but does contain a regulated inland water course. But didn't we just see on your other documentation that there definitely is delineated wetlands on the site?
It's a complicated, story.
Well, here,
Original
I see
owner,
flags, and so I expect to see wetlands. Is that true or is that not?
this property originally belonged to, Otto Thiel, who was a wetland scientist. You're probably familiar with him. He lived in here since like 2000. He just sold the property this year. And about 2000, he did a delineation for a deck he did on the property. And this is the wetland delineation that he performed and was submitted to the town at that time. And I had asked Alexis to search your files and get a copy of this for full disclosure. I went out there this spring in order to look at the wetlands on the property, and obviously it's been altered. Because the pipe was put in there. And I also had Jim McManus, who's another soil scientist, meet me at the property so we could get a consensus on what we saw there. We both felt that there was an intermittent water course on the property, but we both felt that the associated wetland soils weren't there. Mostly because of the disturbance history of this property. You have to realize the property was, developed. There was a pipe going from north to south that disturbed the property, and also there was a gas line that was installed. You can see where the gas line is, and obviously they dug that whole area up. They dug up all around the house, and they dug up around to put the pipe in. So our conclusion is the soils on the property are largely fill soils. Some of these fill soils do have some relic wetlands in them. Maybe that's what Otto saw at the time, but we didn't feel there were any wetland soils on the property. That's our professional opinion. That being said, I don't think it really matters that much, because either way, either the pipe remains or it gets removed, and that's going to be your determination. But that's what we felt in terms of what was going on the property.
But let me just get this straight. So 24 years ago, Otto Thiel owned this property.
He owned it up until last year.
And in 2000, he was the owner of this property. He delineated wetlands and filed the drawings.
That's right.
Okay, and then a bunch of work was done, as in filling in the wetland. And now we're not sure there's wetland soil underneath.
I don't think Otto did any work in terms of filling the wetlands. The work that was done here was the installation of the intermittent water course. I think that that work was fairly well defined to the water course. I don't think there was a lot of filling outside that area. I just think, our science has evolved over the years. Things have changed a little bit. There's been a new position paper on human transported and human manipulated material. Again, Jim and I both looked at this. We just didn't feel that the soils there had the characteristics of wetland soils. But you have this on your record. And I didn't try to hide this. I brought this forward for full disclosure, so you can evaluate it as you see fit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do other commissioners have glaring questions or even subtle ones?
I did
Okay,
want to
let's-
also mention, I'm sorry to interrupt that, I did provide 3 different alternatives for this. One is to leave the pipe the way it is, the second was to, you know, restore what was there before we moved this pipe and put the pipe back, which I don't think is, we don't recommend that. It doesn't address any of the concerns or the, issues that have been raised. And the third is to go and reroute the drainage that comes off of, Birdside Drive and 123, in both the state and the town would be involved in that, take that. They would pick up the drainage and take it to a state or town drainage system, which would eliminate the flow, would allow the intermittent water course to remain, but would eliminate any flow onto the property. I think that the owner has you know, when, in a case where you have a situation where drainage is damaging the property, usually the town will address that situation. So I think the owner would have a good case in terms of bringing that to the state and the town to try to get the drainage to be rectified in that situation also.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Fain. Commissioner Knight?
I have 2 questions. One is just to get clarity that you're suggesting that the wetland delineation that was done in 2000 and submitted, falsely delineated wetlands based on, you know, the technology and the methodology of wetland evaluation in 2000 is not correct.
I wouldn't say it's false, and again, I can't put myself into Otto's head. I'm sure when he did it at the time, he thought it was correct, but when Jim and I went out there again this spring, we just didn't feel that, we know the soils on the site are highly disturbed because of all the activity, including the construction of the house, construction of the deck, construction of the underground drainage order that pre-existed this one, and the installation of the gas line. And with all that disturbance occurring on the site, we just didn't feel it was likely that these wetland soils remain on the site.
The soil that you evaluated currently that's on site where previously the wetlands had been delineated, is it your opinion that that's normal soil or is that fill?
It's disturbed soils. I can't tell you if it was fill or, you know, it was probably a variety of fill and disturbed soils that were moved around on the property.
And did you dig down to get to where you think maybe the original soils might have been before the pipe was installed?
I didn't go that deep, for a variety of reasons. I just didn't, you know, I didn't go that deep, no.
Okay, and then the second question is just, you know, in looking at the topography, that there's a grade on it. And so I understand the emphasis on the flow of the water course, but it seems that there's also a catchment function of this water course area.
In terms of the detaining water,
Yeah, in terms of just draining from where the topography, because it goes down
it conveys, you know, it's a straight shot. There's no detention function. It was designed to get the water through the property as quickly as possible. A narrow 1 or 2 foot, pretty much straight shot through the property. There's no vegetation, so was no vegetation associated with a water course. And you know, there would be minimal storage, if any, because of the way it was designed to go straight through. There's no meanders or areas for the water to back up on the existing water course.
Yeah, the grade just kind of flows down into that area
Yeah,
where the pipe is on both sides.
But it was prone to flooding though, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that part of the reason why that was piped?
part of the, excuse me, Alex?
But it was prone to flooding.
Oh, definitely, you know, it
Been
receives a great deal amount of water during storm events, and it surcharges. And that's what happened. The ditch would surcharge and would overflow and go into the house.
So it did receive quite a bit of water.
Does receive quite a bit of water, and if you look at the map, if you look at the report, I did include a watershed map as a final exhibit.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I was wondering if they could go over the piping a little bit more. Just I'd like to understand the speed of the water, and I am still a little confused as to where it outlets.
Brian, you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's an open outlet at the end, at the edge of the property. There's no connection to any pipe that was there. It's just open. It flows open at the end. And that's the best scenario to make sure these pipes don't back up too. There's got to be access points. If there's some type of an agreement we can make with the neighbor, we could put some type of structure that's approved by the city engineer there to have some type of inspection area. But it is just an open pipe at the end of the property. That's 100%. The velocity of the water traveling through the pipe, I mean, typically we don't go with velocity unless we're talking about scouring at the edge of at the end of the pipe, which is a straight shot. I believe from the end of this pipe, there's a little opening between this and then where it starts to get piped again. And I haven't seen any erosion on the bottom side of the property. All the erosion's happened on the top. Because you also have all the road water that just sheet flows off the road down into this property as well. But the flow of this pipe can handle like 35 CFS. The old pipe could only handle about 24 CFS, if I can remember correctly. I'm going off of memory here.
But you're talking about the 15-foot small section of pipe.
Yes. Yeah, so we increased the capacity of the intermittent water course through there. And again, right now, this time of year, if we had a rainstorm and we had 3 inches in a couple hours, and we had that same rainstorm in the spring, 3 inches in a couple hours, the flows would be different because the watershed on the other side of the road that has a big wetland pocket up there will retain more water in the summer months when it's drier up there than it would in the spring and it's wetter up there, right? So it's a different scenario completely in the spring. We analyzed it over the course of the spring because that would be worst case scenario.
And so you had mentioned reaching out to the Public Works Department, and I definitely think that you do need to talk to the engineering department to get the piping reviewed. I guess I'm still confused about where the pipe ends. So I'm sharing my screen. I don't know if you can see the photograph, but I think the shed is the neighbor's shed. Are you able to see
That's
my?
correct. I believe that's.
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yep. So
this is all like there's no water course here.
Yeah. So put your mouse right at the edge of those, right in there, right at the base of that dirt, at the edge of the dirt there that's disturbed. That's where the pipe outlets. So
it outlets onto. So you've concentrated the pipe outlets onto the neighbor's property.
Yeah, it outlets onto the neighbor's property in the same channel that was there. Without the pipe
so you definitely need to talk to Public Works because there are some restrictions to having a concentrated flow that outlets, right on a property line.
It's not any more concentrated than it was before.
I would disagree, but
it's a channel. So it was like a U-shaped channel, right? That's a certain width versus the pipe that's circular. It's the same channelized flow. And if the town engineer wanted, we could get a letter from the neighbor that he wouldn't oppose this connection.
So this was the channel previously. And this was these are 1 foot contour lines. This was the 15-foot section of pipe. And then it looks like this is some sort of head wall, and then it begins a pipe again, which then continues, and it's piped, and then it's open on this property, and then it's piped all the way down to the Silvermine River. And so you're saying that the pipe ends at the property line and then is more or less directed into, I haven't been on the adjacent property, but whatever inlet structure there is here.
Yeah, and the problem with the inlet structure there is there's a deck on top of it that the neighbor has built on top of on top of this head wall.
Okay, so there's a structure. This is the little shed that was in my other photograph, and then it
Yep.
has a deck.
Little deck there, yeah.
I can't see everybody. Do any other commissioners have questions or comments? I don't think I was around when this was received. And I'll just say in the 25 minutes we've been talking about it, I don't like it any more than when I first saw it. Oh, Commissioner Knight, go for it. Maybe you can articulate something better than I can.
Yeah, it just makes me feel a little uncomfortable leaving it that the wetlands just disappeared. You know, that's not a very helpful or doesn't leave us very comfortable in saying like, okay, because once they disappear, they disappear. And it seems very suspicious that, you know, it seems like it was filled, the wetlands were filled. The second question I have is just looking at the picture, is that bamboo like on the property line? Is that
No, there's bamboo on the property,
okay.
unless it's on the other side, but I don't think there's bamboo out there. Jay, is there bamboo out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
It was just in the picture, not that one where the shed was, the shed picture.
Yep.
You know, keep in mind, there was a gas main put through this property as well. So the soils are all disturbed, which is, in my opinion, why it's hard for a soil scientist to determine if there's wetlands there or not.
Well, all you gotta do is look at the topo plan. If you can go back to that, Alexis, I'm sorry,
There,
Cheryl,
right
give me
in
one more minute.
front.
That's where
There's
it looks
there's
like
the
we're
bamboo.
sitting.
It's pretty stinking obvious what the watershed looked like before people started building houses in the neighborhood. And this seems to be the one property in this flow that wasn't filled in. I mean, just look, it's pretty obvious, I think, where the water was going.
Now, this is
before-
GIS topo?
Yep.
Yeah, so this isn't T2 certified, right? So the
Oh,
accuracy of this
Well,
is
you know, again,
Okay,
It's fairly accurate.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
I'm just wondering if this is a situation where we need a third party to look at this,
Absolutely.
an outside party.
Commissioner Knight.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's just plain as day, guys. Sorry. I had lunch, I'm not in a bad mood, I promise. But just doesn't smell right.
I think that's fine.
Okay,
I
good.
don't have any problem with that whatsoever. We're not trying to hide anything. We're just giving you our professional opinions. And you know, the commission is certainly entitled to get a third opinion. That's great.
Okay, Alexis, then you're gonna,
So-
sorry, you're gonna explain that to us.
Yeah, so just third party, just wetland delineation or wetland delineation and wetland kind of assessment and impact.
Both, I say.
Can I ask a silly question, perhaps?
Ask
Um,
away.
Hearing no objection to that. As far as any of the activities that would take place to restore what has been, you know, what delineation between the wetland and the water course in this case would make the difference?
What do you mean?
In other words, if we are trying to, let me think of how to phrase this. Right now, if there's a water course on the property, correct? There's action that needs to be taken regardless.
Was a water course on the site and now there's a pipe.
Correct, but that's still counts as a,
Right. And that's why they're getting they're before you getting an after the fact permit. Correct. I think it comes down to and it's going to be, I will warn you that it will be hard to assess because it's always hard to evaluate the function of a wetland if the if a site is so disturbed that the wetland isn't there anymore. I think it matters because Mr. Fain is a professional soil scientist. He's and I believe a professional wetland scientist. Sorry, Jay. What he's saying is that the sole function of the watercourse, that there was no wetland and no hydraulic connection to the land around the watercourse, and the watercourse's sole function was conveyance of getting water from A
I see.
to B, and so then if the
Therefore,
argument is if that was the only thing that the watercourse did, then a pipe does it just as well.
uh-huh.
I think that the question is what is it likely that was there wetland soil,
Right.
you know, in these areas? And so this portion to the west of the
Yeah.
watercourse is going to be hard to tell because it's been disturbed. This area has not been as disturbed recently.
Understood. I think it's a conveyance of what you just said made more sense to me as to why the delineation would be an important factor. But anyway, it made sense. Thank you, Alexis.
In the area that is, that we're discussing here was, even at the time Waddle Field delineation was all maintained as lawn, it was never wetland vegetation in this area.
Right, noted. Commissioner Brown?
I'm just wondering, in the number of years that I've been on the commission, I don't remember ever having an application come before us that asked to pipe an entire, water course through a property that we approved. I don't know if that is correct or not, but, that's what I'm remembering. And I don't know if that has been approved in the past, piping an entire water course across a property.
Alexis?
Not that I can let me think.
And I guess my point is, if they had come to us to ask us, I don't think that this is something that we would have approved
Mhm.
necessarily, unless they had a lot of information, and now this information seems to be buried.
Okay. Well, I think, so Alexis, what are your instructions to the applicant?
So I will call you tomorrow, but so what the agency is saying is that they're using a portion of their regulations that allows for the retention of a third party. The cost of that third party is on the applicant. So I'll send you an email to explain how that works. Basically, we charge the applicant a fee based on my estimate to get another delineation and wetland assessment done. The applicant is charged 150% of that fee. We try to get 3 bids, and we'll take the lowest bid. We'll get that assessment done, and then any leftover funds gets returned to the applicant. But I will talk to you tomorrow as well.
Can I throw something else out? The alternate approach, number 2 in the July 15th document, biological narrative and impact assessment. Basically, alternative 2 is to put it back as it was. So if the owner was more interested in doing that and doing it in a way that you anticipate will satisfy the agency, you can save yourself the cost of that third party person. Is my personal opinion. I'm not speaking for everybody else, but I'd be happy with that approach.
Yeah, the issue with that is it doesn't address the property damage that is currently occurring because of the flooding situation. And again, we're very sympathetic and we want to work with the agency, but there is a health and safety concern here that we need to address, and I think it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say, oh, I would agree with you on that. Maybe there's an approach that can satisfy everybody. Yeah.
You know, we're all for trying to work together to come up with a good solution. You know, the owner apologized for doing the work without the permit. It shouldn't have done that, and it's always easier to do it the right way than to come back and backpedal. And again, I apologize for that, for putting you in that situation.
Oh, don't apologize to us. It's the way it goes. But yeah, I think everybody's on the same page now.
Yeah,
I
I
just
always,
wanted to
you
make-
know, we have nothing to hide here. I'm trying to be full disclosure. So getting a third party, if we get a reasonable and intelligent person, I think it's a great idea.
and also consider, you know, alternative 2 plus.
Yeah, but you know,
Whatever
I
it
think
is.
I think, you know, that would be much more discussion, because we probably would have to move the pipe or lengthen the pipe or do something that would not be the status quo in order to address the damage that's occurring. And so I think we need agency input with that.
Is there really no way to address the water damage to the house without piping the water through the site? There's no other
You know,
way?
we can't, we're so stuck here because we can't move the thing over to the back of the property because of the gas main. It's right up against the house. I don't know if you saw it. It's not a good situation. It's scouring the deck footings, and when it floods, it goes into the house and into the basement. You know, Julio just bought this house. He has, it's his first house. He's taking a lot of pride in it. And it's, you know, and all of us would be in the same situation. None of us wants our property flooded or damaged. And we're just trying to address that situation in the most intelligent and cost efficient way we can.
Okay.
How old is his house?
I have the property card, but, 70s, is that right, Alexis?
Looking it up.
See if I can get my hand on the property. I think I can see.
It is. It's built in 1955.
Interesting.
It's been owned by the Thiel family since sometime before the 1990s.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So I guess maybe I'm backpedaling, but just one last thing I want to say is, are we cornering ourselves by suggesting the applicant pay for a third party scientist, and that person says, basically it leads us to saying, oh, well, the only way to deal with this is to pipe the water course. Does anybody have, like, is that even a possibility? You know?
Yeah, that's a possibility. And the reason that you get a third party is because you have right now you have one wetland person, and you have Mr. Mueller, a PE, and so those are your only experts.
We do have Jim
And-
McManus' letter just too, so I
Right.
did try to get a third party involved,
letter.
because I always think that helps.
Right. And so you're going to have 3 wetland people opining on the functions and values of the system. And I'd say that at the end of the day, it is what it is. You're going to have to listen to one of those wetland experts. And if they all come up with the same conclusion, you're going to have to listen to that conclusion.
Right.
And then I do want the Public Works Department to review the plan as well. And that's your other expert review when it comes to engineering.
Got it. Okay, I understand. Is everybody else okay? We're on the stage. Oh, Catherine.
Yeah, I just would urge to maybe have the owner really look at speaking to people about what are other options besides piping the water course. This isn't obviously the only situation or application that we've seen with people living near and close to water courses or even in flood zones. And so, you know, we're hopefully we can get to a situation where it's not just about piping, but, you know, sometimes working or coming up with other solutions. I mean, in a coastal area, you know, people lift their houses or they have, you know, they have to work around what nature's doing.
I guess the difference here that I see is that, you know, 90% or 95% of the water is really storm drainage runoff from the road system, and it's probably we're dealing with 5% natural flow. And if it was just the 5% natural flow, it wouldn't be any issue whatsoever. It's the drainage from that's really making us do this. And I hear you, and you know, I've looked at different alternatives. We're very sensitive to the situation. I just feel that in this particular instance, this is the best solution. And we did vote, although we did come up with a pretty robust mitigation plan to try to, you know, bring back some of the functions that may have been lost or what may be lost.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Hopefully we'll see you again, you know, on August.
So I just talked to Alexis about that, and I apologize. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I'm getting a little tired. I set up the month of August really to travel with me and my wife. I'm not going to be available. I apologize profusely, but I can't backpedal anymore. I need to take some time for myself. So it will have to be September if that's okay with you.
All right, so if we can get a verbal extension of time from you.
I can give you a written one, that'll be fine.
Okay, and so in the interim, we'll work on getting a third-party reviewer. You should promptly get in touch with the Public Works. Wilbur is the engineer that you want to talk to, Wilbur Giron. And then we'll reconvene in September and then go from there.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you. Moving on to S24-641's 4 Singing Woods Road.
Okay, so initially you had scheduled a public hearing this evening for this application. The applicant, so we do a legal notice in the hour, and then the applicant is responsible for mailing notice to all adjacent property owners. Unfortunately, the letter that they sent out was deficient. It didn't have the correct time, and it didn't mention that it was a Zoom meeting. It said that it was upstairs in room 231 of City Hall. So I encourage them to not use that and to reschedule the public hearing. So the applicants are not here this evening. They did submit revised plans. At the last meeting, they had kind of sketch revised plans. Those revised plans are now on the website, as well as a revised drainage plan. And what I'd ask for you to do tonight is to make a new motion to schedule a public hearing for your next meeting, which is August 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Kind of a do-over. And then they will send out notices of the new public hearing date to the adjacent property owners. You're muted.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Sorry. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Cheryl, second. Any discussion?
I just would want to make sure that we have a forum for, I'm not available that date.
Good to know. Thank you.
So
Anyone else not around?
I don't know if okay.
Okay, moving on then. S24-643 Bonnybrook Trail.
All right, so this is the Public Works application to do some repair to 2 bridges that cross over 5 Mile River. No, yes, no.
Holy Ghost Father's Brook.
Father's Brook, which is a tributary to the 5 Mile River over on Bonnybrook Trail. You received the application at the last meeting. The applicant has made some minor revisions to the plans and now has a landscaping plan for restoration of the impacted wetland areas. And Mr. Sotnick is here. I'll let him do a quick review. And if you are happy with this little addition, then for your next meeting, I'll have a draft resolution prepared for you. Oh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Sotnick. I'm Senior Civil Engineer with the Department of Public Works. Thank you for having us tonight. As we mentioned at the last meeting, I can give you just a brief overview in case anyone was not there. In 2018, the state of Connecticut had corresponded with the city and informed us that they were not going to do all of the bridge inspections that they had previously been doing. The state had always inspected all of their bridges as well as the city bridges that were long span bridges and any of the short span bridges that were less than 20 feet in length. 2018, they said that the short span bridges were now going to be the responsibility of the city to inspect, as well as any of the maintenance work that we've always done. In 2019, the Department of Public Works contracted with Freeman Companies to inspect all 26 of the less than 20-foot span bridges. And based upon the results of those inspections, the reports, they had basically made recommendations and rated all of the bridges. And in doing so, we came up with a list of preservation projects that needed to be done to maintain the bridges. And we've done some of those already. One, we had a complete replacement that we had to do, and we got 5 that we're working on and design right now, 2 of which are the bridges for Bonnie Brook Trail over the Holy Ghost Fathers Brook. So at this point in time, we've come up with a plan to do the rehabilitation work, and the work that we would need to do, as we mentioned last time, is all work that needs to be done to bring us into compliance with federal, state, and local regulations. And based upon that, I can let Peter Grandy, who works for Weston and Sampson Associates, the city has contracted with them to do 2 of the 5 bridges for design, as well as plans and specifications. And at this point, we can have Mr. Grandy present the project and summarize what we did last time, plus the additional landscaping plan that we've added.
Thank you, Paul. I will share my screen just to go back through what we originally presented and what we've added on to the presentation and what will be added into the plans with the contract documents that we're doing for the town or the city of Norwalk. So I'm hoping you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
When you're working on that, Peter, I can add one other thing too. The commissioners had asked last month how old these bridges were. I've researched that, and it's approximately 1963 that these bridges were built. So it's approximately 61 years old.
Would you like me, are you just wanting to share the information that you had recently sent me? I can.
We can do that too. I thought, I don't know why my screen is not allowing me to share. Try this one.
Oh, there you go.
There we
That's
go.
good.
Okay. Sorry. So this is Bonnie Brook's. It's basically a storm drainage improvements rehabilitation of the bridge 102-025 and 102-029, which are along the Bonnie Brook trail roadway. And so we originally, a second. So this just kind of indicates where the 2 bridge structures are along the Holy Ghost Fathers Brook. They are basically, these are the 2 structures. Both of them have 4 pipes, 2.5 foot in diameter, each of those pipes, and they have a head wall at both the inlet and the outlet. This is a couple of photographs of the head walls, looking both up and downstream at the various locations. A couple of things that we just want to note, so when we get into a little further discussion with this debris will be removed when we're doing the work. It's part of the work that the contractor will be doing. The other thing is they will probably be trimming. They're not removing shrubbery, trees, or anything like that, but they may have to do some trimming just so they can get into the head walls to do the work. This is the Bridge 029, same addition. We will be removing some of this debris, a lot less debris at this one. And again, we may have to do a little bit of trimming, but there really wasn't a lot of shrubbery or trees that were in the way of either one of these structures that we should have to remove. We show that there's a cofferdam that we're going to be doing this in segments. When we do this, we have a cofferdam that will be placed at the 2 different times. What we're going to be doing at one time, we'll be doing at least 2 of the pipes will be cordoned off when we're doing this. So 2 of them will allow flow through them. So the purpose of that is we look at the contractor's responsibility. If the flows are going to be very high, he would have to pull his stuff out, anything blocking the culverts themselves. But as long as you're around the 2-year, because we looked at this as a 2-year storm event, that the culverts can definitely handle that. 2 of them with no issues, and we can cofferdam the other side. We are putting in some riprap and protection around the existing structure, and we're also going to be doing repairs at the head walls themselves. Additionally, we're also going to put some guardrail along the structures to protect traffic from going off the roadway. And we also show you the temporary and permanent wetlands and wet course disturbances that are going to be happening. The temporary are generally just because we're doing, the cofferdams, that type of thing. So it's minimal. The permanent are what we're doing actually into the stream, or I know there's a pond on one side of the structure that we're also working there in those areas. So this gives you the other 29, Bridge 29, and it gives you the same thing. This is because of the cofferdams we're putting in the stream. This is the actual riprap. These little green areas are actually, we're going to do some additional work in those green areas, and we're also looking to put wetland establishment back in those areas. So this is the landscape plan, and I do have it up on, if you want, I could move over if you want me to show you a little closer up what we're doing. I also have it as a PDF of our plans as well. But basically, this area here on this one, this area in here, and I believe there's a small area. Where's the last area? There's a small area up in here that we're doing, and those are the only areas that we're disturbing, these 2, and putting the grass wetlands back in. And again, we're not touching any trees or shrubs to be removed. And we are asking, if they are to be removed, they have to get the town's approval before they do any removal. But the shrubs may be trimmed back at the bridge structures just so they can get in and do their work. It's not anticipated that would be a lot of trimming.
Do we have pictures, or do we have some sort of images of what is currently there?
Sure.
And
and that's, I think I had that originally back in the, hang on a second.
Sorry, I'm a visual
Okay, no,
person. I need to,
This is what that old 25. It's just a little bit of this bushes
I see.
pull out, and then this is at the head wall, the upstream head wall, where we would clean this out. This would have to be cleaned out, and there is riprap going in here because we do have a little bit of scour going on at both the inlet and the outlet, which is not unusual for these types of structures. And the purpose of the riprap, because it's a heavy rock, that type of thing, it will not scour. It will protect that waterway, so you don't have this little drop-in area in front of the structure because of the turbulence. And basically, this is because of the turbulence and a little bit of the soil material underneath it, but it's basically the turbulence caused in heavy storms. The water gets moving quite quickly and becomes very turbulent when it's trying to enter into the pipe. And that also removes that material at the bottom, the stream bed material. When we put this material in the riprap, we are also putting stream bed on top of it, because one of the things is with fisheries and that group, they don't like the rough rock being in contact possibly with fish traveling through. So we will put a stream bed on top of it. So that's the first one. And then this is 29. Again, as you can see, this one has a lot less. So I don't think we actually have anything that we're going to end up removing on this one. And again, but we are going to do some clearing in this one area in front of the structures or the pipes themselves to allow water flow to be, better. You'll have a better water flow and you won't have this stuff interrupting that water flow.
Thank you.
Sure. And then just to give you a feel, this is what the cofferdams look like. This is more or less what we're doing at the different levels. We'll have to repair some of the stone masonry, repoint it because there's some voids missing. There may be an occasional area where we think the stone is too big of missing, that we would, what we call is chink it, and you actually put a new stone in and then you mortar around it. And then we're also, like I said, we're replacing the guardrail as we showed in the original plans, and we're showing here we're replacing guardrail because there's 3 cable guardrail there. The one we're putting back in will be a timber guardrail with a steel post. So it will keep traffic from moving off the roadway and should deflect it back into the roadway if somebody would hit it.
We propose using the Merritt Parkway guide rail to try
Yeah.
and match the aesthetics of the neighborhood. So
Yes.
it's not going to be a metal beam rail. It'll be a Merritt Parkway timber guide rail, as Peter mentioned.
Yeah. And we can, from the standpoint of the DOT, we cannot call it the Merritt Parkway guardrail, even though it's the exact same system and we use that system. But the Merritt Parkway guardrail is only supposed to be used on the Merritt Parkway. That's why we end up calling it a timber guardrail.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'm letting you know.
No, that's exactly, and that's exactly why I wanted to give people an idea of what it would look like.
Yep.
But Peter's correct. We're not supposed to say that, even though it's the exact same thing.
Yes.
Okay,
Hopefully
Thank
they
you
will
for that.
listen to this recording. I'm just kidding.
Well, even if they are, that's okay. They know it's
I think
true.
it'll be all right.
We're using it as an example in a positive way.
Yes.
Yes.
okay. Commissioners, any questions? I don't see any hands raised. Yeah, so I guess we will look forward to seeing a draft resolution from Alexis or Amelia next meeting.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Good night.
Night.
Take care.
Okay. I got overly ambitious closing windows and closed my agenda, but I think the next thing on the list would be reviewing or approving the meeting
There you go.
minutes.
Well, there was a bond release reduction.
Oh, bond release. Okay, I
last-
got to open back up now.
Oh, okay.
Or go ahead.
All right, well, there's two, they're both for 216 Scribner Avenue, which is St. Matthew's Church. One of the bonds is in relation to the construction of the new recreation center that they did within the Upland Review area, and then the other was their corrective action work. These are 2018 permits. It took a long time for them to finally do all the plantings that were required by the conditions of each permit, but they finally did that this spring. So the bond for the plants is not eligible for release at this time. It needs to be in for 2 full growing seasons. They had previously asked for reductions for the work that they had done, because they did remove quite a bit of fill as part of the corrective action and had regraded it, but then never planted. But I have never put it before you, because I said they're not likely to reduce a bond if the planting plan hasn't actually been implemented. So with that story, I'd say that they are now eligible for release of the bond. We recently re-inspected, and for the most part, the plants are in good shape. They have 3 trees that they will need to replace, but the other plants are in and are doing okay. The bond was split into the planting parts, and that's kind of their remaining parts of each. And the elements that are eligible for this reduction include stuff like the sedimentation and erosion control, site stabilization, removal of the fill, and that's about it. So they have done those, and staff would recommend release of this.
So moved. Can I have a second?
Hi.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
We'll be thrilled.
Okay. And that's both reductions of both bonds. Can we do that with one shot? Right? Yes?
That was my
Okay.
understanding.
Now it's the approval of meeting minutes. Anyone?
I move to approve the meeting minutes.
Sweet. Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, sweet. Conservation initiatives? Catherine, are you still involved in committees and stuff?
I had signed up to do the tree committee. However, they tend to meet on Tuesdays at the same time.
I could have
So-
told you that. I also had that same thought and realized it didn't work.
Yeah, so that doesn't work.
Wonder
Cool.
if they'd consider changing when they meet,
Well,
or you could, I suppose.
that's true. Good point.
Hmm.
Okay. Anybody else want to talk about any conservation initiatives? How about staff comments?
No.
I actually have one question, not to belabor this meeting anymore. I just want to ask about, damn, every time I go to talk today, this is what keeps happening to me. So I apologize. I don't know, something is like the wires are scrambled. But the open space fund, like I keep bringing it up because I would like to understand and or be involved, help in any way I can. I think it's valuable. But I'm also not sure on the parameters, and I'm not sure what we can. I know we had talked about like there's an audit of what there's available, of what there is already, what the town owns and what I still don't quite understand how it all works. Or what our part is in it.
Yeah, that's a good very good question.
You've explained it. It's not that you haven't. It's that
Yeah.
I still am like, so parks, oh, you know.
Yeah,
Well-
so, yeah, you're the gatekeepers to the fund. Is how I would shortly encapsulate your role. So you are the first decision makers as far as when there's someone is seeking to use any portions of the funds. The Conservation Commission is the first stop to assess whether the ask is in line with the goals and objectives of the fund, which are laid out in that section of the city
Mhm.
code. That's your main role, I'd say. It's not I cannot recall this year's capital budget. In the past, it is funded with small infusions of funds through the capital budget process. So the capital budget is separate from the operating budget, bigger capital improvements.
Mhm.
But back when it was established in the year 2000, it was decided that portions of capital funds could be bonded and then put into this fund. And that's for the most part how it has been funded, kind of a trickle every year of about $50,000 added to the fund, with the idea that instead of, in the past, open space purchasing was more, well, it's still going to be, but is reactionary. There'd be a parcel up for suddenly, there's applications for development, and the city would scramble to hold a referendum and then secure, capital funds to buy it. And they found that was very expensive. And if we had an open space fund, the city would have the store of funds that would be available at any time. And that's most valuable when applying for open space grants. Most grants have a match required. So most grants don't give you like 100% of a project or an acquisition. They'll pay for 60%, for example, and then the city would have to come up with 40%. So the idea is that with this little kitty of cash, the city would be better able to maneuver to get open space grants and be able to secure open space with grant funds as opposed to purely doing capital budget funds. And so that's what happens, like with the White Barn property. Something like, I don't know, 75% of that total property ended up being, it's not quite 75%, but 60 is protected, and then the rest ended up getting developed. But the front part with the pond, that was all a Land Trust City Open Space Fund acquisition.
I was gonna say Norwalk Land Trust, right? That's how that.
Right.
that's-
It's actually an easement, not an outright acquisition, but
Okay, so let me ask one last question, so who applies to, so I have yet to see an application, right? That's what you're saying,
Yep.
for funds, right? That they would,
we've-
who,
Mhm.
what,
Well, so usually the Land Trust has asked for funds
I see.
multiple
Okay.
times, and then one time the Recreation and Parks actually asked for funds to do something down on Calf Pasture Beach, which was denied. The commission decided, no, this is not the idea of the fund.
Got it.
And
And
then
how
other
much money
times
is
it's
in that?
been the city. If there's an open space acquisition opportunity,
Got it.
the city. I don't have that number off the top of my head. The last time I checked, it was 573,000.
Oh, okay.
But then that was before the city did agree to fund the Land Trust's acquisition of open space on Stephen Mather Road,
Right.
and that amount.
Oh, it's okay. There are dollars. I get it. I guess,
some dollars, yes.
But I don't
So
remember how much we got last year. Matt was like, yeah, let's ask him for more.
it's like
Did we-
200,000 or something, wasn't it? Something
Yeah,
crazy,
no,
like,
it was, um, I don't know if it was 24 or 25.
it was also money. It's just money. There's money.
I'm not sure if they.
Well, while you're looking, thank
Yep.
you for explaining it to me for the 45th time, so I can maybe it sinks into my brain, but I suppose that my question is answered in the fact that like we don't have involvement other than somehow when the city has a proposal, we somehow say yes or no. Or someone has one, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is that that's our role is,
Yeah, I mean, I think you
Okay.
could, as the Conservation Commission, you could, certainly look into taking a more active role in trying to seek out private property that kind of currently acts as open space that might, you know, be preserved. That just takes energy.
yeah, I
you
get
know,
it. I do. It is actually something I really do, you know, there's, I know whatever zoning, I don't understand all the intricacies of it. There's just so much. I mean, commercial space as well, that is just is either we keep building in new places and then stuff is going out everywhere. And there's between that and just, there's not that much open space in Norwalk. There really isn't. And so
Correct.
it's, you know, as a forager, I have a personal interest, but no, I'm kidding. I do have I just didn't know what there was to be done. So I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you're more than welcome to you know, like at the meeting, I don't necessarily, I only have like so much bandwidth, and if you know what I mean, but if you
Yep.
want to come in, I can pull out, we do have inventories. We have a
Right.
lot of maps. We have inventories of currently protected, and then we have lists of properties that are not protected currently, but kind of feel like that maybe they should be. So
Yeah.
we certainly have the information. We don't necessarily have the manpower to really actively you know, connect with those landowners.
Understood. One day I'll come over there, and if you feel like procrastinating anything else, I'll stop in and
Sounds good.
thank you.
Commissioner Knight?
Hi, just a question because it got raised. Just what is the status? Because it's a nice big potential piece of land. I know there's been some iterations and cleanup that has to happen of where the power station is, the Manresa property. Because I mean, there's no money. I mean, that's part of the problem. It's like you can't. What property could we possibly?
Right. So and again, this is like relying on Alexis's memory, which is is on shaky ground. But years ago, when the plant, you know, first announced, okay, we are permanently decommissioning the plant, the Manresa Neighbors Association, which was a group that formed a nonprofit, as well as the city, co-funded a cost analysis for the park. And I can find that and send you guys the link. It's somewhere on the city's webpage. And it went through a financial analysis of the park. It went through all the liabilities, and then it went through the development limitations, and it pretty much concluded that the city can't afford to purchase it and just make it into a park. I know that, I don't know.
Wasn't it part of it just sold? Didn't somebody just,
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up. I think that it was transferred, but I don't wanna, hold on, let me just.
I thought they were building housing. I just remember having this conversation. I don't know if that is true, but they were building housing.
Yeah, so in October 2023, a development company did purchase it from Norwalk Power. It is a large national or maybe international company that specializes in previously contaminated or difficult properties. I know that they have had some very, very preliminary talks with other members of the planning and zoning staff, but no application has been made yet. That's kind of where we are.
I don't know if it's the whole plot, but interesting. I will look that
Yeah,
up.
I think that they bought both parcels, I'm pretty sure.
They did, okay. That's kind of a bummer. I have no more comments, Steve, if that's any. I'm done. Just
No, I'm just listening.
thanks for coming on the ride with me, everyone. I apologize. I feel like that topic has been like this neglected thing in the corner that I feel like we should be paying, but the answer just might be no, or that's going to take too much bandwidth. And so now
It's a big nut to crack, that's for sure. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. If no other commissioners have things they'd like to add or discuss. All right, I will move to adjourn. May I have a second?
Second.
Nice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next time, Ed, don't talk so much, okay? Night, everybody.
Right.
Good night. Take care.
Right. Right.
Good night,
Good night,
Alexis.
Diana.
See you in 2 weeks. Oh, I
Yeah.
am gonna be missing, I don't know if it's our next meeting.
August
Like,
13th.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're going away.
Oh, good. Where are you going?
We are going on a cruise to Bermuda.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
So will you be back within 1 week, or should I find someone else to
well, we'll be back on
7
Thursday.
days from the meeting?
What's that?
We have to post them 7 days from the meeting.
So we're back on
So
Thursday,
that would be, they have to be posted by the 20th.
right? I guess if it's not terribly long, let me say, and planning,
Yeah.
and zoning, do they have a meeting that week too?
They
Sometime-
canceled the meeting on the 21st.
This month.
Oh,
21st.
wait. Oh, that's right. That's this month.
Yeah, that would, yeah, which is kind of nice. So this week, yeah, I only have the one meeting.
Yeah, they do currently have one scheduled.
That week,
Um,
let me see.
go to my calendar. It is.
I think it would be the 7th, probably.
The 7th. Oh, and then the 21st. You're right.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so. I can probably do them real quick.
The 21st. Yeah, it would be that week. It would be right the next week.
Yeah, because we get back on the 15th, so, yeah, I don't
Oh,
think,
okay.
Yes?
right,
Right.
'cause you could always get the video on YouTube like I normally do anyway, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
We'll keep it
All
at
right.
that then. We'll have a
Thank
great
you.
trip.
thank you.
That sounds like great fun.
Yeah,
You
we're
sound-
going with family, so, yeah.
Wow. Hopefully it's an open bar.
Or not, I'll make it an open bar.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
All right.
Have
Take
a
care.
good night.
You too.
Bye.